So why don't you guys tell us a bit about Five Press, who you are, what brought you together, and what drives your practice?
Five Press started in 2015 as a collective between 5 Melbourne or Naarm-based artists. We had all met at university at Victorian College of the Arts, though we didn't necessarily weren't sort of close friends, weren't necessarily in the same departments, and we kind of reconnected at the first Melbourne Art Book Fair at National Gallery of Victoria, and sort of discovered a shared love of artist books and were sort of interested to start maybe we're doing something together in relation to artist books and printmaking and traditional sort of bookbinding techniques. We've sort of operated as a collective since then, sort of focusing on handmade sort of small editions or one-off artist books. We've exhibited mainly through art fairs, Melbourne Art Book Fairs, Volume Art Fair back in the day, Sydney Contemporary. We've even done Singapore Art Book Fair as well. Yeah, currently there's, I think, 3 of us sort of currently active in the collective. But sort of there's always, I guess, opportunities in the future for that to sort of change and things for it to evolve. Yeah.
Cool. So who are each of you? Maybe you can give us an introduction to each of your practices.
I guess I'll go first. My name's Sophie Westerman. I am an artist who primarily works in sort of printmaking, works on paper, working with sort of etching and lithography for the most part. And I make a lot of work that's focused on kind of minimal sort of architectural style landscapes, I guess you could call it. Yeah.
I'm McConnell. I live and work on Wurundjeri country in Naarm, and yeah, most of my work is maybe monoprints specifically, but I also like to do etchings and aquatints and things like that. But a lot of my work kind of centers around some of the activism that's been happening around Victoria and Tasmania and New South Wales. And I'm specifically interested in kind of telling the story of when people kind of stand up against something that they don't agree with and kind of how that all plays out. It's kind of feels like a bit of an excuse to have conversations with people about issues that I care about. Yeah, and aside from that, I like making abstract stuff when I'm a bit overwhelmed by all of the problems in the world.
Okay, I'm August Carpenter. I live and work on Wurundjeri country as well. I mostly work on monotypes and etchings, and I do a lot of drawings as well. I'm very lucky to be represented by Australian galleries at the moment, who've been incredibly supportive of my practice and encouraging. And my work really focuses on landscapes, but very much the idea of a place changing and how we perceive places to change in our memory, and I guess the way that things are changing currently in this rapid state of climate collapse. What feels like, yeah, climate collapse.
You all have such like a mix of stuff. It's really cool. So what inspired your collective dedication to artist books?
Well, I think having run into each other at the first Melbourne Book Fair, we were all just in the headspace of like, artist books are so exciting, they're so fun. I was making artist books in my last year of VCA, and to have an event that was kind of centered around the idea of the artist book and kind of celebrating that, it just like, it kind of blew my mind. And so when I think we each sort of ran into different combinations of people and thought, oh, I really love your work, we should collaborate on something. And then that kind of happened over and over again. And we were like, well, maybe we should just start a collective and use it as an excuse to start making artist books, and then coming to the book fairs and using that as like a collective space to sort of justify making books because it's so much work and yeah, it's quite an undertaking.
We were all very freshly out of university or out of art school, like within that first year, and you're kind of navigating that weird space where you no longer have that amazing cohort of people that you're working with in your studios every day. So at least for me, it kind of, the four of you held me accountable to keep trying to make work and also to develop like new skills. Like we learned a lot from, well, Sarah and I learned a lot from the printmakers in the group because we were both drawers. But yeah, I don't know how to explain that more.
I think also the idea of an artist book appealed to me because I often feel very kind of unsure of my work and I don't really like anything kind of standing on its own. But as a collection of things, I can feel quite excited about lots of the stuff that I make. And so it just makes sense to me to have books as the way to kind of think about the work. So nothing is on its own.
So there's been a lot of like skill sharing of how to make certain types of books within like your collective, which is really cool. Like not everyone knew how to do everything when you first came together.
Yeah,
100% kind of learned as you go.
I think
awesome.
Yeah, I pretty much, it wasn't my first print, but it was kind of my first print was a aluminium plate lithograph that Jaime kind of forced Sarah and I, not forced, but like she encouraged us to try this.
Persuasive printmaking.
Yeah, and we pulled back those first prints and it was like, oh man.
It's very exciting. But if we didn't have the collective as kind of a reason to come together and try new things, like I don't think that would have ever happened.
Never. In fact, at art school, I was like, I'm not interested in printmaking.
At art school, I was very interested in printmaking, but me and August were both in the drawing department. So we didn't have heaps of time in the print studio. But I think the first time both of us made a book was with Adrian
Kellett.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kellett, from the printmaking department in first year uni, and he showed us how to bind a book, and I think both of us just kind of fell in love with it as an object.
Yeah, it's great seeing, because what would we do? We'd go and we'd make our separate work and we'd bring it together for the book fair, and then you'd see everyone else's, and that would like sort of inspire all these ideas. You know, like, oh, I didn't know about Japanese 4-hole stab binding, and then the next time I'll make a Japanese 4-hole stab binding book, and then like someone else will see something, oh, a concertina, I'll try a concertina next time. So yeah, it was really encouraging.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so great. And like kind of echoing off of you guys introducing your individual practices, so our next question for you is, how do your distinct independent practices inform your collaboration as Five Press and vice versa?
If it wasn't for the collective, I probably wouldn't ever make artist books. I think that's something that I sort of my interest grew from seeing like everyone else do it and the amazing things that they could do. I feel like, but I also think it's been a great outlet having my individual practice, which sort of I started at university, and this separate sort of practice within this collective. It's been a good space for experimentation and ideas which maybe don't quite fit what I'm currently working on. It's sort of like not like a side hustle, but a way to sort of try out different things and resolve them. And they may eventually sort of cross over into my main practice, but it feels like a really freeing kind of space without sort of expectations, and really supported space to work on things.
I guess it's also worth noting that within the umbrella of Five Press, we have like different tiers of collaboration that we've done.
Yeah, true.
So like prior to Five Press, Sarah and I had collaborated together on a body of drawings and an exhibition. And I think as well, prior to Five Press, Sophie and Jaime had collaborated together. And those relationships have continued and changed, and pairings, I guess, within Five Press. Jaime and Cheralyn have collaborated in quite a few books together. And then, so that's like one level of collaboration. And then you've got the skill share and techniques and critical analysis, I guess, of each other's work, because we can be brutal sometimes.
It's great.
It's really helpful.
Which is nice. It's just nice. It's a special thing to have a comfortableness with people that you can be like, this isn't your best, or you're onto something, and it's good to have that.
And I think also knowing the history of each other's work, because we went through university kind of alongside each other, even if we weren't working, in the same department. Yeah, it makes a huge difference to our understanding of the work and what parts to kind of bring out or be excited about that makes sense in context.
Totally. And then so those are like 2 parts, and then we also have the collaborative works that we've engaged all 5 of us on, and that is really just like 2 major things that we've done. And it was on 2 series of books, and they were large monotypes where we all worked on the same plate together, and we called it was chaos. But we called that project Conversations, because each mark made was a conversation happening with the next mark, and you're removing things and adding things. And I think that's probably my favorite thing we've done with Five Press, really, those books. But
to go back to the question.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
No, I think it's all relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that maybe I wouldn't be printmaking if I wasn't in Five Press, because I wouldn't have had that kind of impetus to keep trying and keep making mistakes and keep accessing studios when I don't really feel like I know much about what I'm doing. So to have Sophie and Jaime, the printmakers in the group, to really kind of back us and help us, and Sophie's printed my work before when I needed help or haven't been able to. I didn't have access to a press. So Sophie printed some of my like aquatint plates, which has been an awesome way of collaborating as well. I don't know what the end of my sentence was going to be.
I think that's a good end. Yeah, it's really great to hear that like it's been a sense of community for like your group, and that like something that we all loved in printmaking, even though we did it all in different capacities in our degree, but was that sense of like working together and like having more than one person on hand to make your edition or your set of prints, and then having that ability to give feedback, and like brutal feedback, but take it on so positively. It's really important to find those people in your practice, and it's great that you guys have that between you all, and that it's just super cool. Love it.
Yeah, especially that notion of like skill sharing in like direct ways, but also in like kind of like just through osmosis, like being in the same spaces together, working together. It's really interesting to see how like you kind of rub off on each other even when you don't even know you're doing it.
And that Five Press can be that like set space for play and experimentation that you can either take to the rest of your practice, or you can just leave it. And like it seems like a very healthy relationship.
Yeah, it seems great. We love community.
Yeah, community and communication is great.
It is definitely like, I feel like I can run to you guys and be like, I found this new glue. Or like, guess what?
Get out together.
No one else wants to know about that ever, but
Printmakers
I think it's not only about criticism, it's also about like getting really excited about something new that someone's made. And for me, that's like so invaluable, because I just doubt absolutely everything that I do, and I think everything is bad. Yeah. So I need
all the time.
Oh, this is the one.
Shut up. In 3 months, you're gonna love this.
Yeah.
You need your cheerleaders to like keep you going when like particularly the printmaking studio likes to give you a reality check and keep you humble.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have the people around you to keep you there and keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think particularly with printmaking, because you have this vision in your head and you work so hard on like a plate or something, and then you finally get around to printing it after hours of work, and it is nothing like you wanted it to be. And you just need someone in that moment to say it's going to be okay. Yeah.
When someone helpfully told us that the work was going to print backwards, and it was a pretty insulting moment, but that was that.
And sometimes, no matter how many times you've done a print, you often forget that. And then you print it and you're like, oh yeah, that thing, that like main thing about this process, right?
Yeah.
Printmaking t-shirt.
Backwards, but do it backwards.
Yeah.
I like that.
Maybe something for Sydney Contemporary.
Yeah.
Merch.
You have participated in many art book fairs across local, national, and international contexts. How have you found these experiences, and what have you learned along the way?
Ooh. Well, the best part is the day before the book fair, or maybe the week before if we're very organized.
We're never organized.
We're never organized.
The day before, where we get together and we sort of reveal our finished books, and that's like, I don't know. It's like
It's Christmas.
if you celebrate Christmas, yeah, it's like Christmas, and
Yeah.
so unwrapping everyone's beautiful tissue paper covered books, and you get to see what we've each been working on. And
But
that,
really, like, usually when we're doing that process, we're unveiling it because we've got to put some titles on it and sign it and like get it to dry.
yeah, maybe, but that's the best part of the whole experience. That moment when we see what we've each been working on and see the finished products. But then, well, for me at least, the second best part is meeting, like in Sydney Contemporary, you spend a week surrounded by other printmakers and paper enthusiasts, you know, and it's like going on some sort of print camp.
Totally.
And you just get to really nerd out and enjoy everyone else's work.
And and getting to be around those people over and over again every year for an extended period of time. It's like you really get to kind of marinate in what's exciting about people's work and have great conversations, and it's all really inspiring. It's probably, for me, going to these different art fairs or book fairs is the thing that keeps me excited about the medium, because I'm not just kind of like inwardly focused. I'm looking out and getting excited about what everyone's doing.
Yeah. And the audiences are different. Like the audience for paper and artist books in Sydney is very different to the audience in Melbourne. So each experience is different. And again, when we went to Queensland and Singapore and all of the things, it was actually like drastically different.
The culture between Sydney and Melbourne and the way people think about art in Sydney and Melbourne seems to be quite different.
Yep.
So there are different types of fairs as well, which is interesting. Going to like Sydney Contemporary is an art fair, like all sorts of art, and then Melbourne Artist Book Fair is just artist books, and one's sort of like a paid event and one's like a free event on the weekend, and it's I really enjoy seeing people interact with the work, because I feel like especially artist books don't exist unless someone's actually looking at them and handling them. That's when they sort of come alive. And we don't do any white gloves. We love it when people pick things up and have a look. We're always encouraging people because they're a bit nervous. And that also changes the way like you might go about making things in the future, seeing how someone interacts with a certain structure of a book. Can sort of open up new things for you as well. And I think also the conversations you have with other stall holders and just people you meet. Like I always remember one person saying that it's an artist book's like a little mini exhibition. So each page is sort of like a different work on the wall. And so like you're walking, instead of like going to a gallery and walking through an exhibition, it's like an exhibition in your hands, which you can sort of take with you, which always sort of stuck with me. And you get some strange interactions, like people smell the books and like like rub them on their face. It's
a great way to experience a book. I do that all the time.
We had one person say, "What do you do with this? Can I stick pictures in this?"
Is this a notebook?
It's a very one of a kind notebook.
If you must.
Like if you buy it, technically, I guess you can do what you want, but.
All right. And where do you see Five Press in the future, and what is your vision for the collective ongoing?
This is our 10-year birthday, isn't it? Like
whoa,
next year. Next year.
Is that
that's so cool.
Oh my gosh, double digits.
Years old.
The first book fair we did was volume 2015 in September 2015.
Oh, you're right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That was the first one. We went up to Sydney.
Yeah. We went up to Sydney and 5 of us stayed in a studio Airbnb.
In like Potts Point, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. And every time we go to Sydney and stay in an Airbnb, we have group crits for the artworks that are on the wall, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's always like photos, like IKEA printed photos on canvases and like really strange decisions. And it's good. It's good being in that kind of like art school headspace because you're with people that you went to art school with and you're thinking those terms. That's the question. Oh, the future.
So we do that.
More IKEA print.
Yeah. We're gonna go release a line of IKEA prints.
Yeah.
I mean, we every time we get together, we have ideas of that we want to do an exhibition or a retrospective or have like an exhibition of books with prints on the walls and stuff. But I think we're all just so busy. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And maybe for our 10th anniversary, we'll do it.
Yeah. I think we worked it out last year that was it over 70 different titles that we've done collectively
we did for I think 5 years we did a poster which was like photos of every book we'd made in the collective, and like on the other side was like a list. That was a lot. So it was a lot.
But yeah, so at the moment, the 5 Press of Future, we're going to Sydney Contemporary in September. And that's kind of about it on the horizon for now. Just everyone has really active careers and goals and lives at the moment. So I think it's a special thing that at the moment it feels like we're each able to move in and out of 5 Press and put what we are able to put into it at the moment, and then it exists in an evolving entity really.
I think the benefit of being in a collective kind of allows for, if you have a bit less time because you've got a lot going on in some other aspect of your life, it's kind of okay because there's 5 of you or 3 of you or however many people are going to show up. And so I think we have strength in a group for that reason partly, and also because we have a lot of stuff going on in our lives, and so it's not just art, it's lots of different things.
I think it sort of speaks to the fact that where we were when we first got together was like fairly fresh out of art school and university, and it is a really nice thing to see how supporting each other and encouraging each other has led to these amazing things for the collective, but also for everyone individually. And so it's great to see it when people like do their master's degree or have these great exhibitions and things like that. So it's all sort of we have less time, but it's also for really good reasons as well, which is quite nice.
And a win for any of us individually is a win for the collective. So I'll be taking that gallery explanation. Thank you.
It's great that you can sort of always come back to that, like just the foundation of it's just a group of you sharing your work with each other and getting ideas and having like that studio, like the uni studio vibe without actually having a physical studio together, or like it's just a metaphorical hub of support.
Yeah, an active message thread.
Yeah, awesome.
Great. So our next question for you is, are there any female identifying printmakers or artists that you're fans of right now?
We were trying to figure this out earlier. August has a lot.
I wrote a list, and rather embarrassingly,
don't take mine.
I'm gonna take yours.
I'm gonna say mine first.
I can't.
My favorite female printmaker at the moment is Elizabeth Cummings. She's amazing. Like initially a painter first and foremost, but through Cicada Press, who print work in Sydney, she's been doing monoprints and incredible etchings, and I have one of her large abstract landscapes of Arkaroola, which is a place that I've been going to a bit last year, and it's just like, it's mind-blowing. It's so great.
Laura Jones, her monotypes. I know she's just won the Archibald, so cool, but her monotypes, amazing. And I think she prints them at Whaling Road. Road Studio as well.
Yeah.
And Julie Maretsu, beautiful large scale etchings that is like mind blowing when you see them in real life. There's a British artist called Faye Weiwei, and she's a painter, but again, her monotypes are just like so soft and so subtle and just divine.
Anna Higgins.
Well, yeah, Anna Higgins show at Negative Press, incredible screen prints. Maria Werens. Yeah, she again, I think she's European, but like her use of color in her monotypes are divine. Again, yeah, I don't know, Sophie.
I really like what Ali Webb's doing at the moment, because it feels a bit like sort of throwback to the sort of great sort of relief printers, Australian female relief printers of like 20th century, but in a sort of contemporary way. And yeah, I like that it's sort of like such almost like this traditional medium sort of traditional look, but still feels like so like contemporary. My all-time favorites, I love Mama Anderson's etchings she did. I think it was at Crown Point Press, maybe. So yeah, I do find it really interesting when people who aren't usually printmakers, painters, drawers cross over into the medium. I think you can get some really fantastic results because they're not sort of as restricted by what all the technical things. Like Tracy Emin's etchings as well, which I absolutely love. What else? Yeah, I've been Deborah Walker as well, someone who I recently discovered all her lithographs. It's like, yeah, beautifully drawn lithographs and etchings as well. I really like her style. Very sort of like simple drawings, sort of black and white, but like really, really evocative. Yeah.
I just went to Katie Hessel's talk at the NGV, and she said she only knew like less than 20 identifying artists' names when she began writing her book, The Story of Art Without Men. And I went home from that and I was like, right, how many do I know? And I was sad. So I've been making a conscious effort to remember more names.
I love that.
I've got to learn how to pronounce them next.
Just a bit of time.
My trick is always just mumble the last name.
Yeah.
And someone will be like, oh yeah, I know them.
You just cough while you're saying it. Like pretending like
Yeah.
Cool. I think we only have one more question for you, which I can just quickly do. You kind of already mentioned Sydney Contemporaries coming up, which is September this year in Sydney, obviously. But are there any other exciting projects you're working on as a collective or even individually that you want us to share with our community?
I have a solo show coming up at Australian Galleries in October. And I think I will be excited about it, but right now I'm just overthinking everything that I'm putting into that. But I am very excited. So that will open on the 22nd of October. And I am in the process of finishing 2 artist books that began while I was very lucky. I was the State Library of Victoria Fellow with the Balderson Studio in 2019. And then we went into lockdowns and my project just blew out, and it's huge and it's a monster. And now there are 2 books coming out of that. So I'm trying to finish those at the moment. So that's what I'm working on.
And we're also both in the Rona.
In a Rona Green's print project for next year, which is Rona Green and Thomas Middlemost are curating a print project. So there'll be an exhibition in Wagga Wagga next year. Yeah.
Great.
Prints, 28, 29 printmakers. 28 printmakers. Yeah.
Just Sydney. No, just working on stuff for Sydney Contemporary. I think we're all doing new sort of larger scale print works, which Sarah and August are literally working on at this moment in the studio. So yeah, we're all doing like brand new sets of work for that. So it's what I'm focusing on at the moment.
Great. We'll have to touch base with you when you're in Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you in Sydney.